tells us. That is why we must begin impeaching Donald Trump. Now, you often hear people say that we need to stand for more as a party than just standing against Trump. And that is true. But when it comes to impeachment, standing against Trump is standing for something more. And just as importantly, failing to hold him accountable would be a failure of our own, a mistake that could define the history of our party and our country in this moment. If Trump were a bad president just in traditional ways, we could afford to remove him from office just in traditional ways. But he's a criminal and a fraud. And I understand that politics may be against us, as leaders in our party have well described. I know the polling is against us. I know the Senate may not convict. But you know what? How about just doing the right thing? Because it's the right thing to impeach a president who has obstructed justice. It's the right thing to impeach a president who faces allegations of sexual assault from nearly 20 women. It's the right thing to impeach a president who has used the presidency to enrich himself and is a co-conspirator in multiple federal crimes. And I could go on, but what's the point? We all know these things, everyone does, and yet nothing has changed. Those crimes won't matter until we make them matter. Laws are meaningless unless they are enforced, and the ball is in our court. That is why I voted for impeachment a year and a half ago, and it's why we must act today. Now, I understand that people are afraid impeachment may backfire, afraid we will lose what we won in 2018 and must win in 2020. But I think the political wisdom against impeachment is wrong. Just look at our history. When impeachment proceedings started against Richard Nixon, only 19% of Americans believed he should be removed from office. The numbers are far better today, with 45% of Americans already believing Trump should be impeached. But the lesson from Nixon is not to follow the polls, but to ignore them, to bend them in our favor rather than waiting for them to shift in our direction. Because leaders don't follow polls, polls follow leaders. That's what Democrats did in 1974. They showed the public day after day, hearing after hearing, that the president was a criminal, a crook. And by the end of those proceedings, support for impeachment had skyrocketed, and Richard Nixon resigned rather than let himself be impeached. We must do the same with impeachment today. Show everyone who Donald Trump really is, just in time for them to vote against him in 2020. And if the House sends an impeached president to the Senate, I'm just fine with the American people getting to see Mitch McConnell, who is up for re-election in 2020, covering for a criminal while we stand up for justice. I'll take that trade any day of the week. There's a great quote from Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird that says, "Courage is when you know you're licked before you begin, but you begin anyway, and you see it through no matter what." The point is not whether or not Trump is actually convicted by the Senate, but whether we have the conviction to uphold the law. I swore an oath as a member of Congress, not to the politics of my party, but to the Constitution of the United States of America. It's the same oath that I swore as a Marine, and it's never applied more than today. The Constitution says that the president shall be impeached for treason, for bribery, for high crimes and misdemeanors. It's not a political question. It's a moral command. It's not a decision. It's a duty. It's our job, and it's high time we do it. So let us not become bystanders to our own history, but lead with courage and do what's right. That's my message to you on this beautiful day in Iowa, because it's a message we should send to the rest of the country and to our children in our history books. Lives are on the line across the country this afternoon, and our history is on the line if we do not act. So let's come together as presidential candidates, members of Congress, Democrats and Americans, to uphold the law and to impeach Donald Trump. Thank you, Iowa, and God bless.